Hi, I'm Dr. Tasman Cordy at Sage Nutrition in Little Silver, New Jersey, and we're going to talk about the two kinds of diabetes, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is the one that happens usually in childhood. It's an autoimmune condition, which means the body is attacking itself, and in this case, it's attacking the pancreas tissue. And when the pancreas gets attacked, it stops producing two things. It stops producing insulin and glucagon, and those are the two hormones that our body needs to balance blood sugar. Insulin is released when we eat sugar, carbohydrates, so the nutrition can get into our cells, or those energy molecules can get into our cells. And glucagon is released when we haven't eaten for a while, and we're sort of fasting, and we need to bring our blood sugar up. So glucagon gets squeezed out and brings our blood sugar back up to normal, pulls energy out of our tissues and energy into the bloodstream to manage that. Type 1 diabetes, when it happens in childhood, needs to be managed immediately with insulin because it can be life-threatening. And it needs to be managed then very seriously typically with insulin for the rest of life. It's an important condition to manage well, and it's an important condition to control really well with diet and exercise and other lifestyle factors, because what we know about autoimmune conditions is that if you have one, you're 3 times as likely to have another autoimmune condition at another organ site. So if your pancreas is being attacked, like in type 1 diabetes, you're 3 times as likely to have another autoimmune condition somewhere else, like at the thyroid or the adrenal glands. And type 2 diabetes is a little bit different. It's the one that happens in adulthood typically. We also see type 2 diabetes. Now we're starting to see it happen earlier and earlier. So we see teenagers sometimes get diagnosed with prediabetes or diabetes, and we're also seeing younger kids like preteens even start to have some blood sugar handling problems and actually be diagnosed with a pre-diabetic condition, and we call that type 2 diabetes, even though it's in childhood. It looks different. So what we need to do with type 2 diabetics, just like type 1 diabetics, is start by food sensitivity testing to see which foods you're sensitive to, which foods are causing inflammation, which foods are causing irritation, and which foods are starting to damage that pancreas tissue and make it unresponsive to foods. So our testing looks like this. We test 100 different foods. It's a little finger prick test. It's really simple. We do it right in the office. And once we do that, we can customize a dietary approach for you that is much more appropriate for you. Some people do better with some foods than others. And even though sometimes it's common sense to say, oh, everyone does well with green leaf lettuce, everyone does well with green beans, everyone does well with sweet potatoes, not everyone actually does. And if you have sensitivities to that, what happens is you increase your inflammation in your body. And over time, that damages tissue. You start to have organ dysfunction, and that alone can cause a type 2 diabetes situation, even though you're doing a good job at generally eating healthy. We need to customize it for you. So we start with that. The second thing we do in our office is we do some nutrient deficiency testing. Those tests look similar to that, little bar graphs again, but we check all kinds of B vitamins, all the fat-soluble vitamins, we check a bunch of amino acids, and then we also take a look at a few hormones like cortisol. Cortisol is an important one, especially when we talk about blood sugar, because we know that cortisol helps balance blood sugar in its own way, but it's important that it's not too high because it's a stress hormone. So if we have a lot of cortisol all the time, we have a lot of inflammation all the time. We have a lot of signals to the body that we need more sugar, because when we have cortisol, our body sort of thinks it's running from tigers, and so a little bit more energy or more sugar in the blood is helpful. From an evolutionary perspective, the problem is it's not as helpful anymore, but we still have too high of cortisol too often, and that will definitely damage tissue over time, cause inflammation, cause organ dysfunction, and then cause problems like type 2 diabetes. And some people just start to have pre-diabetic conditions or even blood sugar handling symptoms that we also can start to handle with the same kind of testing, and then we do some biofeedback testing in the office. So give us a call at 732-852-7752. We can take a look at what diabetes means for you, or your blood sugar balance means for you, and get you started on a better pathway to weight loss, weight control, and diabetes that's under control, and hopefully reversed and then eliminated is really the goal. Again, this is Dr. Tasman Cordy in Little Silver. We'll see you soon.